In 25 BC, the mightiest military machine in the ancient world met its match. The Roman Empire, fresh from conquering Gaul and Egypt, marched south into Africa, certain of another easy victory. Instead, they were about to face a kingdom that would do the unthinkable, defeat Rome and make the eternal empire beg for peace. This is the forgotten story of the Kingdom of Kush, the African power that humbled Rome. The rising kingdom. The Kingdom of Kush, centered in what's now Sudan, wasn't some tribal outpost. Its capital, Meroe, was a thriving city of nearly 100,000 people, larger than most in Europe at the time. It commanded trade routes from the Mediterranean deep into Africa, rich in gold, iron, and ivory. But to Rome, Kush was just another, barbarian, frontier. They saw resources to seize, not a civilization to respect. Yet Kush had something Rome didn't expect, a disciplined, mobile army, armed with iron weapons and fast cavalry, perfectly adapted for desert warfare. And they had a leader who refused to bow, Queen Amanirenas. The spark of war. Conflict began over economics. Rome wanted Nubia's gold mines, Kush wanted independence. When Roman governor Gaius Petronius marched into Nubia, Amanirenas struck first. While Rome was distracted by campaigns in Arabia, Kushite forces swept through southern Egypt like a sandstorm, capturing Syene and Philae, even tearing down statues of the emperor himself. When word reached Augustus, he was furious. The conqueror of Antony and Cleopatra had just been humiliated by a barbarian queen. He ordered Petronius to march south with overwhelming force, to make Kush an example. But Amanirenas was ready. The trap. Petronius advanced deep into Kushite territory, his legions weighed down by siege engines and armor. On paper, Rome held every advantage: numbers, technology, discipline. Yet the Kushites refused to meet them head-on. They struck from the shadows, ambushing supply lines, isolating scouts, and vanishing before counterattacks could form. This was guerrilla warfare. Centuries before the term existed, the Romans were fighting ghosts. Realizing his position was collapsing, Petronius pulled his legions back to high ground near Primis, hoping to use artillery to turn the tide. Roman ballistae could tear through shields at hundreds of yards, and for a moment, it seemed Kush might finally break. But Amanirenas had one more move to make. The negotiation. Instead of pressing a hopeless assault, she sent envoys, not to surrender, but to negotiate. Rome, expecting unconditional submission, suddenly found itself forced into diplomacy. The resulting treaty stunned the ancient world. Rome withdrew from Kushite lands. Kush remained independent. And both sides recognized each other as equals. It was one of the few times in history Rome failed to conquer and had to accept peace on someone else's terms. The message to Rome. To drive the point home, the Kushites took the bronze head of Emperor Augustus, a symbol of divine power, and buried it beneath a temple in Meroe. Every visitor stepping into that shrine quite literally walked over the face of Rome's god-emperor. It was psychological warfare of the highest order. Across Africa and the Mediterranean, people whispered, even the gods of Rome can fall. The legacy of Amanirenas. For decades afterward, Kush thrived as an independent power. Rome expanded elsewhere, but never again tried to conquer them. Queen Amanirenas became a legend across Africa, remembered as the one who faced an empire and won. Yet in most history books, she's barely a footnote. Roman historians like Strabo and Pliny mention the war only briefly, portraying it as a minor skirmish. But archaeology tells a different story: Roman weapons buried in Kushite temples, inscriptions celebrating victory, and that bronze head of Augustus still found exactly where the Kushites placed it. Why has this story been buried for so long? Because it shatters the myth of Roman invincibility. It reminds us that history isn't always written by the victors. Sometimes, it's rewritten by those who fear the truth. The Forgotten Empire. The Kingdom of Kush lasted for centuries more, developing advanced ironworking, unique architecture, and a writing system still not fully deciphered. When it finally fell around 350 AD, it wasn't to Rome, but to another African power, the Kingdom of Aksum. But the message Amanirenas left behind still stands: power isn't measured only in conquest. Sometimes, the greatest victory is the one where you stand your ground and force an empire to recognize your worth. This is the true story of the kingdom that defeated Rome, the day a queen from Africa made the greatest empire in history kneel. Please, like, share and subscribe.